Hi everybody, Douglas Waltz, Old Man Comic Book Reviews. We got a stack today, pretty hefty stack. We're going to start with a new number one by my youngest son's favorite comic book person, Scotty Young. He only wrote it. George Corona drew it, which is nice. It's the Me You Love in the Dark. It's about a woman moving off to... Oh, it's got big, pretty pictures, too. Look at that. It's a woman who's moved out to go paint, and she's blocked, and she can't paint, and she picked the house because it was haunted, and there's nothing going on until, you know, the next issue, or the end of the book where stuff starts going on, and it's neat. I liked it a lot. It's very good. I like the art style. I like that she listens to records, so they do the music. This is music in the comic book. He draws it like this weird serpentine looking thing. It comes off of the record player. So now's the time to get it. Just came out. First printing probably still from Image, issue 1. Worth every penny. Alright, and the final of this miniseries, The Trials of Ultraman, that leaves us on a cliffhanger, of course. They are promising us to be continued in the mystery of Ultra 7. So it's Ultraman. There's giant kaiju monsters. We have a mecha kaiju. So the guy didn't build a robot, he built a mecha. And Ultraman swoops into Iceland and saves the day. And I learned that there are no trees in Iceland. That they cut them all down. They deforested the entire island forever ago, and there's been no trees since then. It made the kaiju angry there were no trees. So that was kind of interesting. I do love that the Space Force guys still wear these awful uniforms. These are from like OG Ultraman. So that's kind of cool. It was a good miniseries. I'm glad I got all the photo covers from Fanfare. They were nice to pick the photo covers for me. New one-shot from our boy Johan Vasquez, Invader Zim, the Dookie Loop Horror. Yeah. It was only an extra buck, I think. Yeah, it was an extra buck. $4.99. It's a big book. It deals with a time loop, and only Dib and Zim are immune because Dib's sister planted something in his head, and Zim has a little green hat. That's what stops them from... they know about the time loop, so they repeat things millions and millions and millions of times. And Zim did it with something called Zubagloob Guano. These Slubagloobs, also known as chrono dumpers. They're interdimensional creatures that actually eat time where they're from, and then they use our dimension as their toilet. Zim also has a idea to shrink everyone to baby size so that more of us can be launched into the sun. He made a button that just says large and baby. It's literally just a button that does nothing. He does that a few times in here where he just makes a button. He's like, I'll fix everything with this button. This is a lot like an episode of Invader Zim. If you're looking for a good Even Steven wrap-up, no, the artwork is awesome, as always. There is this. At one point, Gur does make Dib into a pie. So, that was kind of funny. We get a lot of weird, and then it's just over. I missed the regular book. I wish they'd stop doing the one-shots, but it's better than no Zim. Alright, Sensational Wonder Woman number 6. And you already know Zim was Johan Vasquez. Johan. Honan. And it was illustrated by Aaron Alkovich. Sensational Wonder Woman. Let's see what they did for us here. I do believe the thumping is our dog. The writer is Sina Grace. Paul Peltier is the pencils. Norm Rapond is the inks. Rapmond. Not Rapemond. Sorry, Paul. Or Norm. So, anyways. It's the Queen Bee. She has decided to use her powers to take over all women. So Wonder Woman has to fight all of the women. Dr. Poison, the Blue Snowman, Silver Swan, Giganta, Always liked Giganta. Just a giant redhead. So you don't get very many of those. And so she has to defeat Queen Bee and save everybody who's not really bad. Does kind of a trick with megalodons. Because only an Amazon can tame a megalodon. And if they're under mind control, they can't. Because the megalodon will know better. So they have to, Queen Bee has to release her hold on some Amazons. And that's, you have a couple loose Amazons, you're over, you've lost. So this is much better than the Wonder Woman book. I'm kind of getting tired of the Wonder Woman book. This, on the other hand, one and done. Every issue is kind of one and done. They very rarely do a continued. Good book. You get to see different artists, people write Wonder Woman. Always a good time. The book I didn't think would still be out, issue 23 of Savage Avengers. Last issue, Conan showed up to see that Doctor Strange was giving a consultation to a interdimensional being. What was his name? Was it Shub-Gorath? Shuma-Gorath. I'm sorry, Shuma. Written by Jerry Dugan. Artist Patch Zurcher. Patch. I assume now at this point it's Conan and Doctor Strange for the most part fighting against Shuma-Gorath, and now the Kulangath has brought a giant city floating over New York City. And next issue is entitled, this wonderful title, called The Defilement of All Things by the Cannibal Sorcerer Kulangath. So, I mean, I hope it's not the last issue. Issue 24 would be weird to end on. But if you haven't been picking up this book, you're going to need trade paperbacks because we're already up to issue 23. Let's see. Yeah, I'll save that for last. Vampirella! Vampirella 22. We have a new story arc. And this writer is still Christopher Priest. Artist is still Urglan Gundons. I'm sorry, Urglan. I'm so sorry. It's called Red Mask Book 1. And we get to deal with Dracula. He's not an alien, right? Of course he's not an alien. He's, if you're bit by one of the Draculones, you can become a vampire. And Dracula was one of the ones who did it. This was the most interesting thing I'd ever seen to kill a vampire. They planted a virus, a genetically manipulated virus, into his victim. So when he bit them, he died. It was the coolest way I've seen of killing a vampire. Meanwhile, Vampirella, she's trying to stop this astronaut who's trying to kill his son who came back from the moon in the last story arc. He shoots people, Vampy shows up, she saves the day. At one point, she hypnotizes this doggo who decides he's going to help her because he likes her better than the actual owner of the dog. She does get screwed over and stuck in a teleporter, so she's up like in the Arctic or something like that, and then somebody else has to come save her. And then her Lilith's other daughter, I think it's Draculina. Don't quote me, because they don't say her name once in here. So she's back. They're doing a lot of intertwining storylines that are literally 30 years old. And that's always a good time. So I do like that. And then the other girl, the lovely brown vampire, whose name escapes me. And let me see if they say it. Victory. Her name is Victory. Mm-hmm. And apparently Vampy needed her to help her with something, so they were fooling around, and now she's all heartbroken about that, being kind of a twat waffle about that. So, and this says they were counting down to something. That's right. I think issue 25 is called The Wedding from Hell. So next issue we're going to have more of Red Mass. Yeah, we'll find out what's going on. It's the only Vampirella book that I buy. I don't buy any of the other Vampy books. There are so many of them. It's bad enough that there are how many variant covers? There are 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28. Hold on, one more page. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. There are 34 different covers. I usually end up getting stuck with, what cover did I get? I don't know what cover I got. Oh, I got cover A. I always get cover A. Because the only photo covers they use are cosplayers that don't look anything like Vampire Ultraman. Whatever. Alright, one shot from Marvel. Spirits of Vengeance, Spirit Rider. See, there is always a Ghost Rider. No matter what. We discovered that in Savage Avengers. There was the Ghost Rider who rode a giant spider. Back in those time periods. So this is Doctor Strange helps Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider because he goes berserk on Times Square and just starts vengeancing on everybody. And before we go any further though, let's see. The writers are Taboo and B. Earl. Paul Davidson is the artist. And there's a Leviathan origin artist named Jeffrey Ferraggi. I don't know what that means. I imagine it's part of the storyline. I like this art. This art is weird. It's weird and scratchy. Anyway, so he's crazy. So Doctor Strange saves him, and then they need to go see Kushala. Kushala is the Apache Indian Ghost Rider. So she goes into his body, and they go through and explain why he is the way he is. First he sees his father, and they have to save him when he's little, and it's a demon causing everything, and you get these full page artist things that just look like a punk rock heavy metal cover more than anything else, and that is absolutely a fabulous thing in a giant book. It was a big book. I think it carried me extra for it. Yeah, extra buck, $4.99. So Kushala, the demon tries to get him by sending him off to where he would see his mother and his relatives, and he doesn't want to leave. So Kushala has to actually fight him. Zarathos, that big fella, he's back in this, and she has to help fight him. At the end, it's basically she figures out that she has to go back in time to where she belongs to put things right and let her ancestors help after she's done being Spirit Rider. And then you get weird artwork. I'm thinking this might be the Leviathan artist guy, because that's pretty cool. That just came out of nowhere, and that was kind of neat, because then you get to fight this giant monster who, he's a little small to be a kaiju, but he sure looks like an Ultraman villain. Somebody read some Ultraman or watched some Ultraman and said, I'm gonna make a demon, and then she figures it out. She has to shrink her vengeance, so she makes him super tiny. That's her vengeance, and then she ate him. So now he is gone. So it's a one-issue, one-shot, but apparently in the fall, Kushala will be back in her own series. I will get that. There's not a Ghost Rider series right now, so I'd get this. It's kind of neat. She's going to go back in time, so it'll be, you know, like a Wild Wild West Ghost Rider with an Apache theme to it. Pretty good stuff. So there's your stack. I promised you a stack. Here's a stack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a stack. Seriously, once more time, the Me You Love in the Dark will get that. So, Sophie, Fiona, thank you very much for coming over. We had dinner, and you guys got to help make cookies and eat ice cream. You had so much junk that by the time dinner was here, you were really just not interested. And I'll see you tomorrow for early morning French toast breakfast. So, meanwhile, the rest of you, next week is Free Comic Book Day. They will give you free comic books at your local comic book store. So if you're watching this next Saturday, when your comic book store opens, there will be free comic books waiting for you. You'd have to go in, and they'll hand them to you. Wear your mask, because it's icky out there. And I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.